Within the first couple of minutes of playing Starfield, you are going to find your way to the character creation portion of the tutorial. And this is obviously like any other Bethesda game where you choose what you look like and, any kind of defining features of your character, but also more importantly, you actually pick your background and your traits. Now in this video, we're going to be looking at the background options that are available because there are some better choices that you can make as well as some poor ones which will actually hurt you a little bit within the first couple of hours of the game. Now first of all, let me start off by saying that I don't think that you can actually make a wrong decision here. Your background determines your 3 starting skills. And later on in the game, when XP is abundant and you have a ton of levels, you'll be able to have all of the skills that you want for your specific character. However, at the very beginning of the game, your choice in background is important since you will have a limited amount of these skill points, and the skills that you start with will very much determine what you're able to do with your character in these starting levels. Using pickpocket as an example, it is important that we know that unless you have a point in a specific skill, you cannot use that skill at all. So if you don't have any points in pickpocket, it's not that you can attempt it with a higher chance of failure. That action will simply be unavailable to you completely until such a time as you put a point into it. Righto, so start us off, we have 21 of these background choices available to us. And instead of me going through all 21 and mentioning the pros and cons of the different starting skill combinations that we have in them, I figured it'd be a good idea for me to tell you my top 5, of course according to my own preference, and then also just mention the 3 worst ones which I think that you can pick at the beginning, which will kind of like just make it a little bit more difficult or make your character a little bit more unfocused. Alrighty, so my number 1 pick in terms of backgrounds would be the Cyber Runner. That's because I think that the 3 skills that you start with here are the most well-rounded, plus it also suits the kind of way that I'd like to play this game, which is stealthy, hacking, stealing, kind of, roguish kind of character. However, the 3 skills that you start with is stealth, theft, and security. Now, stealth itself gives you the ability to actually use stealth, which is very important if you're trying to sneak attack enemies and deal damage to them, or a little bit more damage to them. And then of course, theft is what allows you to pickpocket. Now, these two really complement each other very well. It's very difficult for you to pickpocket someone without stealth, since the rolls will be incredibly high to detection on you. And likewise, stealth, what good is stealth without a little bit of stealing on the side? So these two really work really well together. And then when you slap security on there as well, which is essentially the hacking skill of this game. So this is the ability, the skill that lets you open up locks, lets you open up, safes and doors that have been locked and everything like that. So again, all around a really, really powerful package here, which will allow you in the early game to gain access to places that you usually wouldn't be able to, which will have more loot in that you are looking for, more credits, more everything like that. But at the same time as well, once you start making your way to the hubs of the game, again, at the very beginning, you'll immediately be able to start pickpocketing the shit out of everybody and getting as much money as possible, which once again means that you can buy the best shit. Then on the other side of the coin, if you're looking for something that brings a little bit more violence, speed, and momentum to the game, then you can't go wrong with the Soldier. Now, the Soldier has fitness firstly, which gives you 10% more oxygen. Oxygen is essentially your stamina in the game, so it helps you to jump, more and run more, and just in general, be able to move around the battlefield quicker. And then we have that coupled with ballistics, which means that our ballistic weapons do 10% more damage. Now, there's a whole bunch of different weapon types in the game, but most likely at the very beginning to probably a lot later on, you will be using ballistic weapons a lot since they are the most prevalent weapons and also most of the ones that you, again, like I said, find at the beginning. So being able to just inch out a little bit more damage with that is fantastic. Last but not least, we have boost pack, although it does go on your back. Boost pack training, which is essentially like a jetpack for your back, and this allows you to traverse the battlefield in different kinds of ways. Now, if you don't have the skill, you can carry a boost pack around with you, but you can't do the cool jumps and all that shit. And boost pack is pretty awesome because eventually you can level up to the point where you can pause in the air and remain boosting and shoot from there and everything. So this is just a fantastic way to introduce verticality to combat, and that's why Soldier is in number 2. In number 3, I'd put Bounty Hunter, in many ways for the same reason that I put Soldier in number 2. It is a more, aggressive way of playing. However, Bounty Hunter brings a little bit more of the ship side of things into it as well, where Soldier is more focused on you on, you know, the surface fighting against other enemies, Bounty Hunter does include some skills which work for you as well in space. So of course we have piloting at the beginning, which lets you use ship thrusters. That allows you to be way more maneuverable in ship-to-ship combat in space. You also have targeting control systems, which allows you to target different systems. And there's a whole, you know, sub side to this thing where the idea is to disable ships so that you can board them, then kill everybody on the ships, then take the ships for yourself. So this is a very cool play style if you are looking to make a whole shitload of money, steal a whole bunch of ships. And then again, we have boost back training here. Now, Bounty Hunter is pretty much fucking Boba Fett from Star Wars. So if you're looking to play that kind of way, then this would be the shit that you absolutely need to get for that. And these three skills together give you a really, really good push in the right direction to play that style. Rounding out the different styles of play, we have Diplomat in position number 4. This is for people that are looking to play the game in more of a charismatic kind of way, kind of like talk yourself out of bad situations and try to make as much money as possible. Diplomat comes with wellness, which gives you 10% increased maximum health, just, you know, so you can survive more damage. But the 1-2 gut punch here is persuasion and commerce, because these two together, persuasion allowing you to have a higher increased chance of persuading people, and this can be persuading them to give stuff to you cheaper, persuading them to turn on their buddies, persuading them to not kill you. And then of course commerce, allowing you to buy for less, 5% in this case, and sell for more. So if you're the kind of person that wants to build up a huge you know, reserve of cash and, you know, ships and everything like that, and you essentially, I mean, I used Boba Fett just now as an example, so I guess if you want to be Jabba the fucking Hutt, then you know, Diplomat would be your kind of way. And if you're looking to play a pacifist way in Starfield, that you don't want to necessarily be getting into combat unless you have to, and you kind of like just want to be this overlord, then Diplomat would be a good place for you to start from. And then in number 5 we have an odd one for me, and that is File Not Found. And the reason why this is an odd one is because this is probably the most, some would say, generic background that you can pick, but at the same time as well, a smart pick for someone that doesn't necessarily know exactly right now whether they want to be a rogue, whether they want to be a diplomat, whether they want to be a soldier. This is an incredibly safe choice because it includes 3 skills which benefit all of those other, you know, playstyles. We have wellness, which gives you more HP, which is always good. We have ballistics, which means your weapons do more damage. And we have piloting, which allows your ship thrusters to be utilized. Now, eventually, regardless of whichever class you play, you will probably pick up one of these 3, if not all 3 of these skills. So already having them from the beginning gives you the benefit of more survivability and, you know, better piloting and a little bit of more damage. So this is an all-round safe choice if you haven't really figured out how you want to play the game yet, and you want to get a couple of levels in before you find your feet and decide, cool, you want to be a bad guy, a good guy, a pirate, you know, whatever. So yeah, those are my 5 strong choices if you know which kind of character you want to play in Starfield. When you give yourself a little bit of advantage right at the beginning, you can't go wrong with any of those 5. I did also mention that I'm going to cover the 3 worst choices, and again, this is my own opinion, you might differ. In fact, that is the beauty of this game. You might actually like one of these 3 that I'm about to mention now, but I believe that there are 3 worst candidates when it comes to picking your background, since not only are the skill choices so disjointed or kind of like spread all over the place, but it's also that some of these skills are just not that useful at the beginning, possibly even later on in the game. But enough pussyfooting around. My first choice is Pilgrim. I think Pilgrim's 3 skill choices are kind of like all over the place. We have Scavenging in the first one, which actually I think is a pretty good skill. This basically says that you get additional chance for credits when you search containers, and if you level this up further, you're gonna have additional chance for more ammo, additional chance for you know, more healing items, everything like that. So this is definitely something that you'll probably end up putting a couple of points into. But this is combined with Surveying, which adds an optional zoom to your hand scanner and a little bit of additional distance, which, yeah, you could probably eventually pick up, but you could probably play the entire game without ever spending a skill point on that. And then last but not least, we have Gastronomy, which says that you can craft specialty food and drinks and basically get additional recipes in the research lab. Now, I don't think that food is a terrible idea in the game based on the buffs that they can give you and the fact that you get food that gives you more experience for a certain amount of time, or carry more stuff, or, you know, regen more oxygen and all of that. So definitely these things could be super beneficial to you, but that's only going to be much later on in the game. The problem with gastronomy is you need fucking ingredients. So giving yourself that skill right at the beginning is okay, but you'll probably be able to craft like maybe 1 or 2 things until very later on when you actually start amassing some raw materials and you can actually use this, which means that for a considerable amount of time this is a dead skill point to you. And it's for that very reason that I also pick chef as a bad decision. Again, chef starts with gastronomy, which I've already kind of complained about enough now, but we also have dueling in here, which gives you you know, more melee damage, 25% more with melee weapons. You also take 10% less damage while you are wielding one of these weapons. Now, I'm pretty sure some people are gonna play Starfield from a melee perspective and run around with fucking katanas cutting off people's heads and shit like that, but I definitely think this game is maybe more fun running around with guns and jetpacking and shooting people and sniping people and cutting people up with lasers. I mean, my god, you have a mining laser in the game. You're gonna be using that shit to cut people in half. So I'm not that big a fan of melee combat in games like this. I've never been. So this is again just kind of like dumb to me, but I'm sure that, you know, like I said, some people might like that. But then again, having dueling combined with gastronomy, and then in the third position again scavenging, which in my opinion is probably the best one out of these 3 skill choices, kind of like makes chef and pilgrim equally bad for me, and that's why I said in no particular order, and I couldn't really pick one of the 2 that I hated more. My third choice for worst is gangster. This has shotgun certification, which means that your shotguns do 10% more damage. Now, I've got nothing against shotguns. I mean, they're guns and they do shots and, you know, they fucking destroy stuff up close and personal. But this is combined with boxing and theft. And see, the problem with well, let's talk about boxing first. So boxing says that unarmed combat deals 25% more. So it's kind of like the whole melee discussion that we had just now. And it also lets you use less O2, aka stamina, whenever you do a power attack, which means you can do those more. So just instead of running around with a knife or a bat or a sword or something, you're just hitting people with your fist. Same reasons why I didn't like melee and the other one, you know, apply here. But we also have theft on here, which is the way in which you can pickpocket enemies, but we have no stealth, which means that up until the point where you actually spend an additional skill point into stealth, pickpocket is going to be a risky choice for you, because yes, you can absolutely pickpocket enemies, but the chance of them finding you is going to be a lot more, since you can actually go into stealth while you try to pickpocket them. And that's all I gotta say about the background choices in the game. Again, I think that you can't go wrong with whichever one you choose, but at the same time, and I don't know if this is a lukewarm take or something like that, but I definitely think that the beginning part of Starfield, the first couple of hours, definitely the tutorial and the hours that follow that, are probably the worst part of the game. The game really becomes a lot more fun when you have more skills, more skill points, more stuff going on, and just a little bit deeper into the systems. Then the game's really gonna bite you by the fucking neck and you know, twist as much time out of you as it can. So anything that I can do, that you can do to alleviate the strain of those first couple of levels, the strain of the tutorial of the game, by just, you know, making the right decision in terms of background, so that you have the skills that you actually want to use and that you actually want to play with, I think is gonna bode everybody well. But that's it. Let me know in the comments down below which one you ended up picking. Which ones are your favorite? Which ones are the worst ones? Do you think that I picked the wrong ones? Again, like I said, I could be right, you could be right, we could both be wrong. That's the beauty of the system. But have a shitload of fun playing Starfield. I know I am. I'll have another video coming out where we talk about traits, which will kind of like be in a similar, you know, setup to this. I'm actually working on it right now. But other than that, it's just super important to me that you have a fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Till next video, fucking cheers.